Layoffs, censorship, AI. It feels like journalism is dying. But then when I listen to Kyla Scanlon break down US economic policy, watch Johnny Harris explain geopolitical conflicts, or read Oliver Darcy's newsletter to better understand the media industry, it doesn't feel like journalism is dying, rather just rapidly changing and expanding. So what's behind this huge disconnect? For one, historically, journalism in the news media has been controlled by a few power players, whose massive editorial and financial resources made them the gatekeepers over the news we consumed. But with the rise of social platforms from Substack and Instagram to YouTube and TikTok, journalism's power hierarchy has vanished, and so has the business model that supported it. But in its wake has come a new generation of journalists, called creator journalists, that are breaking news far outside the corporate newsroom and bridging the gap between the creator economy and the journalism industry. So today we're going to look at these new journalism superstars, specifically who they are and who they aren't, how they make money, and the ways in which they're changing the relationship between media organizations and journalists. I'm Eric Traub, and this is episode 2 of 8 Ball. Okay, so what differentiates creator journalists and news influencers? Admittedly, the difference is subtle, but it's important. While creator journalists like Andrew Callahan and news influencers like Joe Rogan sometimes share the same platforms and often attract similar audiences, notably young men, as Liz Kelly Nelson from Project C points out, news influencers are essentially opinion writers, whereas creator journalists are those who are upholding journalistic standards, but they're doing it in an authentic and transparent way. For Joe Rogan's listeners, Joe's opinions on everything from the COVID vaccine to the 2024 election to the Epstein case actually has significant influence on their own decisions, whether that be politically, economically, or even medically. Therefore, Joe's opinions and the opinions of the guests that come on his show are the focus of the show. On the other hand, while Andrew's personality-driven approach to independent journalism makes him feel more authentic and helps him growing his audience,
in today's interview, we're going to discuss the laptop, the 2020 election, crack cocaine, and more, with an emphasis on recovery and away from gossip and family drama.
His opinions are not the focus of his shows. The reporting is. Okay, now that we understand what defines a creator journalist, how are they actually making money? That starts with advertising, where 2025 is projected to be the first year that ad revenue on creator platforms will outpace ad revenue on traditional media, which signals a monumental shift in how audiences, especially Gen Z, is consuming news, and advertisers have taken notice. But as traditional media has found out, relying heavily on advertising is a risky bet. That's why we're seeing publishers of all sizes, but especially creator journalists, lean heavily into reader-supported revenue. Take Barry Weiss, who after leaving the New York Times in 2020, founded the wildly successful Free Press, which now has approximately 1.25 million subscribers and 155,000 of those being paid. And while less than 20% of Americans actually pay for news, the Free Press has clearly built an emotional connection with its readers that's strong enough that they're willing to pay for the news it provides, and it's showing up in the company's reported and wanted valuation. Additionally, many creator journalists are using membership platforms like Patreon to build closer, more meaningful relationships with their audiences, giving them opportunities for exclusive content and ways to directly support their work, which is big for a few reasons. First, as news consumption on social media becomes ever more fragmented, it's more crucial than ever for creator journalists to have a central hub that their audiences can go to find them. And secondly, in an algorithm-driven world in which most creators' audiences are rented but not owned, it's more beneficial than ever to have your own piece of digital real estate that can be monetized no matter what happens to the social platform that your content lives on. So ultimately, successful monetization techniques employed by creator journalists looks a lot like what your financial advisor would say to do with your portfolio. Diversify. Which for creator journalists means being on more than one social platform and tapping into all the different revenue streams at your disposal. With that being said, creator journalists aren't just making money as solo creators anymore. Take Puck, the digital media company started in 2021, who orchestrated their compensation model around the reality that the talent are the most monetizable asset in journalism today. And Puck treats their journalists as such, not just as salaried employees, but as true partners in the business, giving them equity in the business and visibility into the company's bottom line. Which, if you think about it, isn't exactly a revolutionary idea in other industries. Imagine working at a tech company and not getting equity or stock options. Yeah, that would be crazy. Without the talent, there's no product to be built and sold. Same goes for media companies. Without the content that the talent produces, there is no media company. But at least in legacy media organizations, this type of compensation model hasn't really been popular before. Yet, Puck is not the only new media company that is coming up with innovative compensation models for its talent. Look no further than the recent deal that Morning Brew did with employee-turned-creator Macy Gilliam. A master of short-form video content with a comedic twist and a knack for making those videos go viral, Macy has played a huge role in helping to blow up Morning Brew's social channels, all while building quite the personal brand for herself. And given her brand, in making the decision between staying at Morning Brew or going independent, it would seem pretty obvious that she should go independent and tap into those revenue streams that other creator journalists are using. But similar to Puck, Morning Brew knows the company is nothing without the talent. So they signed a new deal with Macy, greenlighting a new show for her in which the company will own the IP, but she'll get a cut of all show revenue. It's a deal that makes sense for both sides. Morning Brew gets to keep one of their top talents, which is ultimately a revenue driver for them, and Macy gets to keep expanding her personal brand with the assistance and the security of an organization behind her. It's deals like these that I think will become more popular in media organizations in the future. And thanks to Puck and Morning Brew, creator journalists will now have more leverage in negotiating these contracts, which is an overwhelmingly positive development. And leads me to my final point. Journalism is undoubtedly undergoing massive change, and change is painful. But creator journalists are showing us that the future of journalism is actually full with promise. While news consumption habits have changed, the desire for well-researched and well-thought-out journalism has not, and now there are a myriad of ways to monetize it. Finally, and maybe most importantly, the end of media gatekeepers has allowed for so many important stories to come to light, and it returns us back to the roots of what journalism is all about, keeping the public informed. Thanks everybody for watching. If you guys enjoyed that, please subscribe, and we'll be back with episode 3 of 8 Ball.